Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am thrilled today to be sitting right across from Ms. Haley Huie. She is the director of the Entrepreneurship Clinic at my favorite place in the world, NC State University. We've got two proud wolf packs here. Everybody's probably really sick and tired of me saying that because every time I'm like, UNC people,
Yeah.
I'll have you on, but no. But really happy. Haley, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for letting me hop into everything that you're doing.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here. Always happy to meet another member of the Wolf Pack.
Yeah.
And yes, we love our neighbors down the road. There's a
Yes.
lot of great stuff coming out of NC State for
Yes.
sure.
Yes. I want to get first into what got you into business. What got you into entrepreneurship? You've been doing things with entrepreneurship for a long, long time.
Yeah.
What got you into this world?
Yeah, too long. I think my story is similar to a lot of first generation college students. I came to college not totally sure what I wanted to study or what I wanted to be. I think I thought at that time that I wanted to be a journalist and I wanted to do that
Oh,
forever. Was kind of a voracious reader, really loved
yeah.
newspapers. The world was such a different place then. So I think I came really as just a blank canvas. I wanted to cultivate some of that. I wanted to explore it, but I wasn't totally sure. So I'll layer on that I started working in high school at a family florist in my hometown. And that was really kind of the first job that I had that I fell in love with. And I found that I was wearing just all these different hats, right?
Mm.
Like I was a floral designer. I was
Yeah.
working directly with clients. I was running special events. I was, with what I was learning at the university, I would come home on weekends and apply, just like marketing basics or, hey, maybe we need to recover some of the costs sitting out there
Yep.
for people that owe large sums. Let's think about the best way to do that to support the business. Let's think about channels for long-term growth. So, in my mind, I was just a helper, right?
Okay.
Like I was applying all these lessons
Yeah.
that I started at, I don't know, 15, 16 years old, learning how businesses work, service-based businesses.
Yeah.
And so it was really exciting, but it was also a creative field. So it
Yeah.
was like, I don't know, therapeutic to be able to come in and design
I
with
love that.
flowers. So I just genuinely love that. I didn't necessarily connect that I was learning things in the real world in the same way that I was learning things in the classroom. That felt very much like I would read a textbot and then I would
Okay.
write a paper about
Yeah.
it, or I would learn something that I could say back to someone on a test. I did pursue the journalism track. I did that. I was freelancing at the time and I worked at the student newspaper as an editor, which was really exciting and met just an amazing group of humans that helped me kind of
Love
learn
that.
by doing, which I think is what NC State is so, so good at, that
Yeah.
amazing humility with smart people that are rolling up their sleeves and they're just really proud to be there and
Yes.
happy to help each other. So like
Yes.
I felt that from day one,
Yeah.
even day one of like a campus tour,
Yeah.
just the culture was so inviting. Um, I did graduate. I practiced journalism for a year, moved to Northern Virginia, just outside of DC. So I
Okay.
got to do a lot of exciting things
Yeah.
that I loved, but I was watching newspapers just absolutely shrink, crater. Functionally, the news industry was changing
Yeah.
around me. So it was around the time I won a State Press Association award, checked a box, looked around and said, okay, this is like a fork in the road.
Yeah.
Am I going to do this forever? Am I going to just kind of climb around the country and go through metro dailies that progressively grow in scale?
Yeah.
Or is this something that I could do on the side and enjoy as a hobby versus an actual
Yeah.
vocation? So, anyway, that picked me up. I called my parents with the news that no parent wants to hear. And I said, I've been promoted. That's so exciting. Yes, I'm so proud. By the way, I'm going to quit that same job. I'm going to move to California. I have 1 month's rent saved, and no, I don't have a job on the other end. My parents did not love that
Yeah.
decision. I think they
As
they
a lot
don't.
of parents, as a lot of parents don't.
Yeah. So I think, they just wanted to be sure that it was a good decision. Your appetite for risk is so different at different
Yeah.
stages of your life. I would not make that same decision today,
No.
right?
Yeah.
So I understand. I had the freedom to go and explore, and if everything crumbled around me, it would probably be okay too. It was
Yeah.
early career, pre-family, pre all those things. But yeah, that took me to California. It was there that, and we can dig into this a little bit more,
Yeah.
but I was working in really large companies, understanding how they worked, how product teams work with marketing teams, work with sales sales? How do you commercialize new products and services? And so that gave me a lot of stability, a lot of learning. I was kind of climbing the ladder really quickly. But what I found at the same time was being able to consult with startups in the community, to be able to meet with people and talk about some of the same things I was learning and applying in really big business, but do it in exciting ways for people who have a passion. They've, been able to shine a spotlight on a problem that people face, but they may not understand how to build a business around it, right? They might be technically really founded, really talented, or they might be amazing product founders. That's totally different than understanding all the disciplines that startup founders have to learn. So, for me, it was like a both and. How can you have a career where you're learning lots? How do you have this outside work that's also incredibly gratifying, which I also firmly believe is just the way the world is changing. People now have multiple streams of income. People are really exciting to cultivate these side projects, side hustles. And I think, so much about your early career in college is about both including what you do like and excluding the things that you don't want to do. So being able to run those experiments on your own career in the same way you would run them in a company. So that is a long answer to kind of what brought me here. Ultimately deciding to apply all of that knowledge, that bank of experience, to live in a place that I genuinely love. So when there was an opportunity to come back to my alma mater and be able to build some programs, and just try to create value for the local ecosystem, I jumped at the chance, and it was just such a great decision. We've been so happy.
Yeah. And can I say, what a time right now.
Yeah.
And especially just in the city of Raleigh and the RTP, everything. I have never seen such booming with the big guys coming in, but also at the same time, like all of these startups coming in and people really creating some cool shit.
Yeah, totally.
That is like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see.
Well, you've got all these different things, like our communities are growing and scaling really quickly. Just the pace of development is insane. With every problem you solve, you create a new one. So then there are critical infrastructure things that we have as a region need to be able to solve for. I'm going to go ahead and speak it into existence. We need light rail in this region. I need to be able to go have dinner in Durham, hop on a train and come back. We'll get there. But it's been so exciting. So many people now recognize what a wonderful place it is to live, work. The world went hybrid and remote. And so now you have the freedom to make those choices. Everybody's not packed in to these major cities. So we've been, of course, a major exit point for all these different markets of people coming here. I think the state of North Carolina owes me. We have recruited multiple families and couples that we just say, like, come spend a weekend here. Like, let us show you how awesome this is. Many of them have never even been to North Carolina. That's not even on their list. But they come and they see, like, what an amazing place. There's an amazing cultural scene. There's so much to do, safe, friendly, but also just really exciting. I think, now is the time for this region.
I sell them with the beach. I take people to the coast. I'm like, I have one parent who's in the Outer Banks and I have another parent who's down Oak Island. I'm like, come. I'm like, we can go explore. And that's where I sell people.
It's amazing. Well, it's being 2 hours from the coast and 3 hours from the mountains, like go either direction. I think we're very lucky. I think we're also well positioned here, that I'm also glad to come back to the Triangle. I'm a big believer, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. There's a lot to love right here. And you can enjoy either of those extremities.
I also add to that is we have some of the best sports. We have, I mean, it's just beautiful here with how green it is. I really sell everybody with the school rivalries that we have going on between NC State, UNC, and Duke. And I've lived here my entire life, and everybody's like, "Would you ever leave?" I'm like, "I've gotten to travel," but I'm like, there's just something about it.
Well, our airport is too good also. Sorry for anybody who has struggled with security lines. That has just not been my experience. And I was in a travel role for a period of time, and I spent a lot of time in airports. And man, we're just the right size. It is convenient. I think RDU wisely has embraced, a lot of the local establishments. So, even though you can definitely find like your Starbucks and things like that, it's amazing to have black and white coffee at the airport now. And I think it's wonderful. So same decision here, love where you live, but also cultivate a love of travel, and you can see the world, but get to come home.
Yep. I had a friend, we were just up in Chicago, and she was like, do you ever, like, when you get to travel, she's like, do you like, I could live here? And I'm like, no. I'm like, it's nice. It's really nice to look at. I'm like, no.
My husband has to reel me back in though. So we were just in New York for work recently, and I was up visiting a startup up there, and we're walking around Central Park. My son would love to be a city kid. Like he just loves cities so much. And I go off on this whole journey too, where I'm like, yeah, maybe we should. Maybe we should think about spending some time here.
Yes.
If we're traveling, we were in Australia last summer, and
Oh,
gosh, it's so easy to fall in love with
oh yeah.
Australia. So I like to envision these alternate realities where
Yeah.
we do totally pack up and we live in another part of the world. But then, I come home and a few days in and I just remember how much I love about being home as well.
My
So
bed is very comfy. I'm like, I've got two dogs. I'm like,
yeah,
we're good.
we're good.
We're
We're so
good.
comfy. And
Yes.
again, just quality of life indicators
Yeah.
all around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I could leave my Carolina Hurricanes. That's what I tell everybody. I'm like,
Fair.
I don't know if I could do it. I'm a season ticket holder, and I'm like, "Oh, I couldn't do it."
Yeah, we also have so many lovely public parks and Greenway and
Yes.
all that. And again, just the ease of you don't have to choose coast or
Yeah.
mountains. Both are so accessible.
Yep.
Amazing.
I love that on any given weekend you can go somewhere and there will be live music somewhere, something
Yeah,
happening. And that's the best thing ever
totally.
because it doesn't happen everywhere and you're like, this is
Yeah,
great.
of all shapes, sizes, genres, all of
Yes.
it.
Yes. I do want to hop right into the NC State Entrepreneurship Clinic. Can you,
Totally.
one, set the stage for what this program is? What are kids coming in and doing? Like, what does this encompass for everybody?
Yeah. So I love when students join us in the entrepreneurship clinic. They almost come in and they've got these big like round saucer eyes a little bit because in a lot of typical educational environments, you're going to sit in a classroom on campus.
Yep.
Maybe you're going to read a textbook. Again, you're going to write papers, then you're going to fill in blanks on tests.
Yep.
And that's not the way the world works.
Yep.
One. So there are some amazing classes out there. So please, all my NC State colleagues, I think you're doing an amazing job.
Yep.
And I think that it's nice to have this variability of experience for students. I always encourage them go off and do your internships, get out there in the real world, get beyond the boundaries of campus. So the Entrepreneurship Clinic is housed in downtown Raleigh.
Yep.
We're part of Raleigh Founded. And so students attend class, again, well off our college campuses domain. NC State loves, I think, cultivating these relationships in the business community. We've been so lucky with our chancellor and with our university leadership to say, we want these immersive real world environments. So students come to us in the Entrepreneurship Clinic. They have an amazing foundation. They understand skills and they have a bank of knowledge to apply. And then we have developed this hospital teaching methodology and environment where essentially if you wanted to learn to be a physician
Yep.
or you wanted to learn this practice, you would apply those skills, knowledge sets, all that, and you would work with real patients, right? You
Yep.
would work out a course of treatment. You would
Yep.
decide what's going on here. How can I fix it? Students are doing the same things, but apply that to companies, right? The companies become our patients. And, it's everything. It's local nonprofits. It's high growth startup concepts. We work with a lot of tech companies. They can also be really mature service-based businesses, right? Like it's such a wide and diverse set of company partners that we get to work with.
Yes.
And so we equip students in teams. They have to pitch to earn their project, and then they're going to work in these interdisciplinary teams. So the magic there is that in the Entrepreneurship Clinic, it's one of the few environments on campus where we have rosters from College of Engineering, from Huie College of Management. We have minors from across campus, all thrown into the same classroom together. And they're getting this valuable experience. They're not just sitting, with design students sitting next to design students who all know the same things. And not that that's not a fascinating field, like full of so many different perspectives. And just skill levels, abilities, things like that. But it is also true that in these modern companies, you need your product and engineering team to be able to talk really well to designers. And they need to really understand the role of marketing and sales.
Yep.
And so we present kind of a core challenge that a company is facing or a core question. The students will attack that as if they were those, people learning to be physicians. You've got both a founder level access. So you got a founder helping them alongside like a coach on the sidelines. And you also have talented instructors, mentors, the whole network to wrap around. So what the students get is kind of antithetical to the internship experience where they're asked to like make copies and go fetch coffee and things like that, which everyone should have one of those experiences in their life, builds character, right? Maybe not the most profound professional growth you'll ever experience, but it helps students I tell them all the time, you're setting strategy, not following strategy.
Yep.
So you are applying everything that you've learned. So building both the confidence and the competence to be able to do something in the business world.
Yeah.
And then being able to describe to the external world when they're out looking for
Yep.
their dream job, like, here's how this is going to impact me. Maybe I start a company one day, maybe not. That's
Yep.
okay too. How do I build myself as a high growth candidate for my dream job? And sometimes we're working towards jobs that don't even exist yet,
Yep.
right? That's kind of the beauty of the innovation and entrepreneurship space. So
I love what you were saying though, because I think I mean, it's NC State's motto, think and do. And I
yep.
think that that is what is beautiful about every single program that you enter in with NC State, especially, I mean, I walked out of state with 2 years of experience
Yeah.
because I was getting to every single class, work with a local business, something of that matter to put together a project, a presentation, literally be in their space working and pitching ideas. It's such a great thing because I think to your point, a lot of people don't learn from tech or don't want to learn from textbooks anymore
Sure. Yeah.
like we used to. And it really puts into practice the things so it sticks with you longer. You're getting it faster. You're having a better understanding of these things. So I love how that entrepreneurship clinic, like you're in it. You
Yeah.
are truly in it.
Well, you think about a textbook, right? Or a traditional approach to education. By the time it has been researched and published and it's gone through all of that, the world has changed, right? So the world when someone initially conceived of what should even go in it is a different place than by the time it's published and distributed and in our hands. So I'm a firm believer that, textbooks certainly hold value, and in different fields, they can be really instrumental. In the work that we do, the things that are far more valuable are to kind of understand from this bank of knowledge that exists out there and to tap into other founders and to tap into mentors and to, consume. There's so much content being pumped out every single day.
Every day.
It's mind blowing to think about, the number of experts walking around with domain expertise that are pumping out content for us.
It's incredible.
Let's take advantage of that. The world is changing. How do we anticipate future changes? How do we stay industry current with our skills and knowledge base?
Well, even when you're talking about textbooks, especially the startup, I mean, I work in social media, and so I see it as the same thing.
Yeah.
It changes every single day. There is no way that things are going to be the same.
Yeah.
The next day.
Well, thinking about social media, right? And marketing message in general, like, what does our audience need to hear from us right now? And I mean, that can change on a dime depending on what's going on in the world around us. So even like tone, message, content, you can have a plan, you can be really well organized, but ultimately you also have to thrive in chaos a little bit.
Yeah. I love the chaos a little. I think that's a little bit of when you work in business, especially in you like these high active environments.
Sure.
Where you're like, this is keeping us on our toes. This is keeping our minds fresh and busy. And you're like, this is fun.
Yeah.
This is great.
How do you recover from that though? So this is a question for you. Like if you're in that like high velocity, fast paced, always changing field, what do you do to what are your restorative activities?
I'm a big reader. And so for me, I like to come back to something, even though we're talking about textbooks, but I come back to things that have been written. And as I've gotten older, my tastes have changed. I used to, growing up, I used to tear through Twilight in a day.
Yeah.
But today, now I love reading about business practices and what founders have done or athletes' lives, and just I love that mindset that they have and the values that they stick to and things like that. But I love staying busy, and I'm one of those freaks that I'm like, the busier I am, it keeps me motivated.
Yeah.
And it keeps me creative and engaged. And when I'm not, I'm like, I'm gonna sit on my couch and I just don't feel like doing anything, which isn't beneficial at all for anybody sometimes. And it's nice to do every once in a while, but I like to keep my mind active just in a different space.
Yeah, makes sense. It is interesting too. There's value to just totally giving yourself permission to be a couch potato for a little bit and just like binge watch your favorite TV show.
Yep.
I had a year where I was kind of reflecting on and so I also blame having a child on this whole experience where like your time is not your own and you totally lose for a short period of time like a sense of self or how to organize yourself.
Yep.
So I blame that as like maybe the root cause or what shuffled the deck for me. But I said to my husband that I'd grown up and I'm such a reader. It is hands down my favorite hobby. And I felt like I hadn't read a book in so long I couldn't
Yeah.
even remember
Yeah.
because I was doing nothing but reading articles and emails and
Yeah.
things that I had to read that I had zero brain cells left to apply
Yes.
at the end of it. Also, parental exhaustion is real.
Yep.
So I did follow one of the book challenges of, okay, 52
Oh.
books in a year, whatever. And I found that I was ripping through books at a totally different pace because I just made it part of like what I expected
Yes.
out of my day or my week or whatever. And I'm also a believer in a mix, right?
Yeah.
Like I love business books. I like ways of thinking
Yeah.
about things. How do you apply this? What's new or
Yes.
innovative, whatever. But I'm also a believer that like go enjoy your favorite
Yeah.
like fiction or
Yep.
favorite genre or whatever it
Absolutely.
is. Cause it's like, you almost need that diversity to
Yep.
reset. And then I enjoy the other thing that
Yeah.
much more.
Yeah. I was just talking to a woman who she works in leadership, and I'm like, do you have some book recommendations that you would? She was like, Danielle, she's like, I don't have a single leadership book that I can honestly stand anymore to give to anybody. She's like, I don't even typically read those books anymore. She's like, I am full nonfiction. And I'm like, she's like fantasy. And I'm like, okay. I'm
Yeah.
like, great.
Totally. Well, it is, it's fun. There's some element of escapism. There's
Yes.
some element of how do I just like spend time doing something that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And I also am a believer that there's some people that don't have an off switch and they're just like on all the time. They're going, going, going. And I mean, I have certainly observed and I have felt burnout
Yeah.
in real ways if you don't give yourself permission or schedule time for
Yeah.
things that you enjoy. And for our family, it's also just like, hey, we're going to take a 3-day weekend and we're going to go somewhere. We're surrounded by green space and we're going to go hiking. And we're just going to totally unplug. We're going to
Yes.
get off the grid. My son loves hiking. He would do it every day if he could.
Love it.
So yeah, sometimes it is just, I don't have anything to learn here.
Yeah.
I can like pause, reflect, enjoy, and then I come back and I'm so recharged that feels amazing.
I'm a runner, and so anytime I can get out and run, I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is a nice little break.
Yeah. Using your brain and your body differently feels really good.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, this sucks some days, but yes.
Yeah.
Most of the time it is a good run. Being in the higher education space, as long as you have been doing it, especially because you're doing work with NC State back when you were a student at NC State and you were helping there, you've had expertise. How does this model that the Entrepreneurship Clinic is using differ from other programs and other ways that people are doing it?
Yeah. So I think there are a lot of project-based courses and programs out there where, you get together with a diverse group of people, you work together towards some goal that you set. Maybe it's creating a new company concept. Maybe it's a service-based project, whatever it is. I think one of the approaches that I love that is so different is, again, putting on the like strategy mindset and that you are working out, you're diagnosing like what actually is the problem. Here's what you've told me. Here's what it actually is. So it's being able to apply a lot of lean startup methodology to that around early discovery work, being able to validate products. Sometimes it's improving user experience of something.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it sets up a different relationship when you have to first go out, become an expert in the pain point that this company's facing, work out some strategy or a set of tactics that you would employ, and then you have to go do something about it. So this is not theoretical. This is not, create a plan in a box and hand it over.
Yep.
I love the experiential learning lens that it includes. And I think that's really exciting. I think there are a number of amazing programs that have, equally impactful outcomes and opportunities. So I think for students, it's, there's no single thing you should do. It's, you're drinking from a fire hose of amazing opportunities.
Yes.
And so how do you make good choices for you and what you want to do?
Yeah.
And, I'm also like, you have this buildable curriculum. You take what's involved in the classroom, but you're doing yourself a disservice if you only are following your degree audit and doing those things. So how do you also fold in things like, student organizations? How do you go on some of these trips? How do you study abroad? How do you like broaden your global lens? But so built a lot of programs. A lot of them have included that thread of experiential learning. I have a strong bias towards action. So mostly I want to do things.
Yes.
So yes, selfishly I will impose that where it doesn't exist. But Yeah, I think that is the primary goal. And then how do you structure those going and doing things around what you hope that people will get the most benefit out of? And in the clinic, it's a double benefit because you're also creating real value and positive impact for not only companies in our area, but we have an international project we're working on in the country of Moldova right now related to a toy museum that serves local kids as well as Ukrainian refugees. And, we've done work on local nonprofits, but we've also helped a startup founder scratching his head to say, hey, I really understand the product I'm building, but not how to get to product market fit. So all exciting, totally different challenges, very different strategies. And the students we get to work with are so talented and it's so much fun.
While we're on this, and we were kind of talking about this with the question you had asked me, like, what are some characteristics that you see in startups and startup founders that you're like, I feel like hardworking is too basic, but you're high driven in this way?
Yeah. So, gosh, all founders are so different, but if I'm going to generalize, the thing that I think is the major driver there is this insane curiosity that they really, all of us kind of like will look around at the world and be like, oh, that's interesting. But they become obsessed with it. Right? Like they're so driven. They're like, oh, this is interesting. And I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's driving this behavior. I wonder what somebody could do about this. I wonder if they would like this solution, And so they like begin to rigorously test all these assumptions that they're making. And I think that like curiosity and drive are the secret ingredients. And they can be both curious and driven in the wrong directions also, right? Like people can and do, right? Like 9 out of 10 startups fail, obviously. Like that is a thing. And sometimes it's because it wasn't the right concept to begin with. Sometimes, it's just the road to commercialization is really hard, right? Like sometimes it's a really simple cash flow issue or we didn't get product market fit right.
Which seems to be a massive problem.
Massive problem. Number one thing that you really want to solve in these new venture programs. But I think, that is a characteristic that stands out to me when I think about some of the most inspirational founders that I have worked with, been around, learned from. All of that is there's a total sense of humility in most cases, but not all. And being willing to like let their clients school them on what they most want or need, because it's a real humbling experience to go out and talk to your customers. So spending more time on that.
And I think that's a fantastic point you bring up too, because I think if you're going to enter this space and feel like you know everything and you're going to be a know-it-all, you are going to...
This is not the field for you.
This is not the field for you, because I think it's one thing to be an expert in certain parts of this, but if you're going to go learn and expand and truly build a company, like you were just saying, commercialize, you have to be willing to sit there and take it sometimes.
And really being open. And, sometimes that stings a little bit, right? Feedback can sting and just humans, you feel it when somebody is being kind of openly critical of something. But if you take everything in stride to say like, oh yeah, they're interested in making this better too. What if I built a company that did X? Or, so maybe I'm doing it for the wrong target market segment. Or maybe the product doesn't work the way that people actually want it to. Or, maybe my pricing model's off. Like there are so many different things that you can tweak, but I think just embracing the mindset that we're all in this together. And so if we can help make it, bigger, faster, stronger, better, that will really serve you. But that is hard. It is hard.
Take the humble pill. While we were on the topic of, people struggling with product market fit, when you are working and these students are coming in and are working with these startups and other companies, are you seeing some things that direct issues that people are saying we need help with? Like we need some ideas around, like, is it product market fit? Is it something very specific?
So again, different companies and different industries, but certainly you see some of the same things over and over again. Sometimes it is, hey, we need greater insight into our overall marketing strategy. Are we using the right messages on the right channels? Or, hey, we want to engage with the Gen Z audience a lot more. Can you help us figure out how to reach people outside of, things that my company is currently using? So that is really common. With the super early stage concepts, I do think it's all about product market fit, where they are, sometimes really passionate about something that they want to do. Does the world want them to do it? I think that's what we got to help them figure out. Is it a company or is it a hobby?
Yeah.
So helping draw that line in the sand for them. It's not wrong to use your energy this way,
Yeah.
but will it ever scale beyond this point?
Yeah.
You know, that's sometimes the conversation we have to have there. Um, so yeah, we do have a lot of people come to us with generally just this opportunity, identification and exploration
Yep.
concept of, I think there's an opportunity here, or, especially in consumer products. Hey,
Okay.
I've got a thing. Maybe I have started selling X product at local maker markets or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Can I scale an e-commerce brand
Yeah.
based on this? What does the overall marketplace look like? What should I be thinking about?
Yeah.
How do I differentiate myself from my competitors? So that's amazing for our students to actually learn not only about how to build a business, but also go really deep into learning about how an industry works.
Okay.
It's kind of perfect marriage in a
Yes.
project.
Yes. Now, inside the Entrepreneurship Clinic is Andrews Launch Accelerator.
Yeah.
And anytime recently that I have seen NC State Entrepreneurship Clinic talked about on LinkedIn, I have seen this Andrews Launch Accelerator attached to
Yep.
it as well. Can you set the stage for what this is and especially what the work going in
Yeah,
with this
totally.
accelerator?
So let's talk about where we are and where we're going. So first of all, Chip Andrews is an alumnus of NC State. So he
Yeah.
and his wife Lynn came to the university. Chip has had a fantastic career building companies. He's such a sought after mentor, investor, just resource in our community.
Yeah.
So truly pure gold with Chip Andrews. And so he wanted to give back in some way to say, how do we extend that runway for people who want to build a business?
Yeah.
Maybe you do take a job after college and you're trying to build something on the side. If we applied some additional resources there, and
Yep.
some of that is the non-dilutive funding that we offer, but a lot of it also is just the knowledge base and the mentors to help guide you and the channel partnerships and
Yeah.
all that. So in general, what is our goal? It's to spin out amazing startups and new venture concepts coming out of NC State. And so we work with people up to 5 years after graduation if they're
Oh,
building something
wow.
really
Okay.
fun, unique, exciting for whatever reason. And again, that's all industries, which is the fun challenge for us in the program too, is how do you
Yeah.
serve all these different
Yes.
people that need very different things at different stages.
Yeah.
So super exciting. And where we want to go is just, it's so hard every year to sit down and choose this cohort where we're lucky we have a feast of options. And so who can we most help? Are they at the right age or stage of this idea?
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of our companies will hear no for a year and then they'll come back, they'll put in the work,
Yeah.
they will take the feedback and they come back to us at a position where we can actually really help them. So that's exciting to see. We'd like to double or triple our cohorts. So we currently
Oh,
work with
okay.
5 to 8 companies every summer in a
Okay.
14-week-long accelerator program. It culminates in a big demo day. Yeah, we would love to double or triple the scale of this
Yeah.
program. I think there's a lot of interest in how to best support that. So where it's going to go and the form that it takes in the future, we're exciting to check it out. But I'm so proud of our companies. We just were on a call earlier this morning saying, it's amazing. You leave the program with all this energy. Our founders come back to us time and time again. We engage with them on clinic projects,
Yeah.
which is really exciting. But how do we host reunions and meetups and happy
Yeah.
hours and like get the community back together more regularly? And kind of what's our role in that?
I think it speaks a lot of volumes to the point of you have people coming back to you guys too,
Yeah.
which speaks to the quality of work and the quality of the program you guys have been creating, which I think is incredible because it's one thing that if a company comes in and is like, one and done, we went through the experience, we helped you guys out, but for people to be coming back and saying, yes, we would love you guys to come in and help is incredible.
Totally. Well, I think we're very focused. And so I get to work with Josh Gooder and the Entrepreneurship
Yes.
Clinic. And Josh is just amazing.
Yeah.
He is both really talented, really driven.
Yeah.
He does so much. He gives so much to the people that we work with that I think we're all lucky to have Josh around the table. And, so how do we make sure that we're building real relationships with the founders? And, it's also, again, if 9 out of every 10 startups fail, we're really focused on the survival rate of our companies.
Yeah.
And I don't imagine that they've solved all their problems at the end
Yeah.
of a 14-week-long cycle. If anything, they've queued up far more problems than they originally came
They've
to us
added
with,
to the
right?
list.
So the list has gotten really
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
For us, it's about how do we help them build a long-term relationship to navigate the different seasons of what their business
Yep.
is going to need.
Yep. I think that's incredibly important because I think as you're going through this, you might at one point have a product market fit, and then you're going through and you're like, ooh, okay, Now we need a marketing strategy to then help put this product out.
Totally.
So I think it's incredible that
how do I move product? How do I scale up
Yes.
our distribution?
Yeah.
How do I, now I have a far more complex marketing landscape than I did when we were purely e-commerce and a site that we manage directly. Thinking about vendor relationships, hiring and adding team members, all of this becomes so complex that again, how do we set up a long-term relationship? And that's not just us, that's all the people and amazing mentors in our network that we can fold in.
Yes. And I think what's interesting is the staffing part of things right now too, because it is so incredibly hard. And I think it's hard because it's one, competitive, but also at the same time, like people are like, I can't get hired.
Yeah, right. Correct. How can both things be true? It's so hard to find talent. And then I watch really talented people, especially students coming right out of a university that are, A-team players, A+ players. And, they're struggling a little bit sometimes, or the job search is taking longer than they originally anticipated. Some I have that are promised 12 months before they even graduate. Right. So it's just so different. And I don't know how both things could be true, but for sure the talent fit piece is really tricky.
It's incredible. And especially for my space, I'm like, there are so many social media manager jobs out there, but then at the same time, it's amazing the lack of answers that you get back, just period, from companies when you're applying. But
and how frustrating, how defeating is that?
So frustrating. So frustrating. But also at the same time, the lack of just, sorry, we found somebody. Okay,
sure,
great. I understand.
Yeah, correct.
But it's
an answer versus this like void of information that takes place out there. And I think, gosh, that's a whole space that could be disrupted, because I do think it's a two-party problem. Both job seekers and companies are struggling sometimes with that talent matching. I think there's a lot of innovation in this space. I think upskilling, I think, I, of course, see it all the time with people coming out of universities, but I also experience it as a business owner to be able to find really talented people to hire for my own organization. So.
My favorite thing in the world is kids that are coming out of college, just a very entry-level job. They want you for 5 years of experience.
You both want entry level with 5 years experience, and those things can't both be true.
They cannot exist.
That's a circular problem.
And that's been happening for years. And it's still one of those things where you're like, guys, we've got to fix the language here, because it's just not,
both things can't be true.
No.
That's right. But I think, so again, going back to the entrepreneurship clinic, how can experiences like that set up the true value proposition? So if you have participated in 2 semesters with us and you've tackled these really in-depth consulting based projects, that should count as your professional experience.
Absolutely.
So, being able to equip our students so that they can describe what they have done in the real world in business, not based on a textbook or case study, so that they can be able to illustrate to employers. Like, I have already done what we're talking about here across a consumer product brand and a high growth tech concept. Here's why I'm a good fit for what you're needing or wanting.
I always celebrate. I'm like, I have 5 years of experience in corporate America and social media, but beyond that, I have another 3 years that I can add to that in social media, brand, and all these things that I walked out of NC State with.
That's right. And making sure people recognize what they're doing. This doesn't just live on your transcript. Like, you should be proud. This should be something that you're showing off for people. Let's talk about your LinkedIn profile. Are you actually categorizing what you know how to do? Because sometimes it is imposter syndrome in a way. People think that there's this whole world that they don't know anything about, but learning to lean on your own experience and the things that you do know how to do. And you've proven because you've already done it for someone.
Yes. And it's become an art almost on LinkedIn to how, like, what are those special words or phrases that you're putting there? Because my dad, who's been in corporate America for 35 years, he's like, I don't look at resumes anymore. He says, I go look at people's LinkedIns. So it is truly.
Well, it is your professional brand that you've set up. It is beyond a digital resume at this point. It is how you're interacting with your community of practice, whatever it is. Similarly, my dad worked for Xerox for, 30 plus years, retired. That was his career. And that is not the world that we're living in. No. And none of the students coming out of universities are going to, I'm going to knock on wood here. I'm sure there's the rare exception of somebody who matches with some organization they're with forever, or they create it. But in general, you should be communicating what you're an expert in. What do you know about? What does your experience base look like?
It is incredible. Like, he was in travel for 25 years. He's been in healthcare for the last 10.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've been in healthcare. I'm in cybersecurity now. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know where else I'm going to go next, but it is one where to your point, they've been in organizations and
Yeah.
in industries
Yep.
for far longer than, and I think that just stands to the growth of, startups and everybody kind of
Yeah.
creating.
Well, I sometimes ask students in my class, especially if I go into like a 101 or
Yeah.
201 level class, so really early,
Yes.
they've just joined us, and I'll kind of ask
The
them,
babies.
yeah, the babies, asking them, hey, who has real strategy around their personal brand,
Yeah.
their digital communication? Have you defined your channels and your messaging and all
Yep.
that? And who's got a strategy they're really proud of?
Yes.
And like no hands will go up in a class of 100, like one or two maybe,
Yes.
because they are just on it. This is a
Yeah.
thought for them. They're being really strategic in how they do it. And then I'll say, okay, great. And so how many of you have profiles set up on 2 or more social media accounts?
Yeah.
And like every hand in the class goes up,
Yeah.
maybe minus 1 or 2
Yes.
again, because they're the outliers that are just, anti-tech. And so then illustrating that gap between
Yeah.
who thinks they're doing it versus who's actually doing it,
Yes.
just maybe without the direction,
Yeah.
is interesting for them to have an aha moment to say, how do I leverage these things to my advantage? How do
Yeah.
I build my professional brand? What do I care about? What do I know about? How
Yeah.
do I communicate about that to the world? Because right now there's a clear gap. Who is pumping out content about them
Yes.
every single day, about themselves to the
Yeah.
world, and then who actually has an awareness that they are doing
Yes.
that? And are they proud of the messaging? Are they, and it's fine, like use a different channel with a different audience on it, with different messaging.
Yeah.
All of that's totally fine. Just being aware of what you're creating.
Yeah. It is funny because a lot of what the questions that you were just asking and what you were just talking about, that takes up a chunk of my job internally at my company because
Yeah.
it is, I'm like, for God's sakes, do we have an up-to-date headshot? Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
I'm like, especially for salespeople, I'm like, I
Yeah.
need you to have an up-to-date headshot. If you
Sure.
are walking into a
Seems
trade
like a
show,
simple thing. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, we can update this really quickly.
Yeah.
But do we have cover photos? Do we have an accurate
Yeah.
paragraph about yourself?
Yep.
It is incredible the pieces that people are missing. I'm like, you have to stay on top of this
Sure.
and just make sure. And people ask me all the time, they're like, is there a ratio we should stick to and all these things? And I'm like, you got to figure that out for yourself.
Correct. That's really hard though, to help somebody,
It is.
when there's no real answer. Because like you have a voice in this, like
Yes.
it ultimately is your decision and we're here to help support you in that.
Yeah.
I hope you have a slightly different voice on LinkedIn versus TikTok.
Yeah.
I hope that's true.
God,
You should.
please.
So fine, right? Like no one's trying to overly sterilize a
Yeah.
messaging or a persona or anything like that.
Yep.
But, there's this authentic version of you that just has different ways that you interact with the world. So I imagine that's a really challenging part
Yeah.
of the job, especially once you like layer on your professional brand
Yes.
related to a concept or
Yeah.
company you work for.
I'm like, pick certain days that you love. Just pick them.
Yeah.
Plan on posting and you figure it out from there. I'm like, you've got to just start with the basics.
Yeah.
Instead of going out and saying, here I am, ladies and gentlemen, here is everything I've got for you. I'm like, start small and let's work our way up
Be
from
thoughtful.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard for a lot of people. It really is.
Sure.
I do want to get into like the feedback.
Sure.
In terms of what you guys do. Like, how does the feedback loop work for students, but also the startups and the companies that you guys are working for of like, hey, you pose this problem to us in this project.
Yeah.
We've got a few issues. Or the students, like, we've heard this. We need you to.
Yeah. Listen, it feels like the Wild West out there sometimes. I'm living right now, we're mid-project and there, you got to rein some people back in on both sides, both the company partners and the students, depending on how it's going. So there's no single way that this goes, but in general, we are big believers in tight feedback loops, right? In the same way you'd build a company and you would want to go talk to your clients all the time. You don't want those huge lags in time. So we, try to incorporate the same things. We're actually in the process. Again, I'll tap Josh on my team, who's amazingly talented, to build a whole portal to help facilitate even tighter communication, to help people get to, productive next steps more quickly is always the answer, because you blink and a project is over. The same can be true for a whole year of your professional life. You're so busy, you blink, and it feels like time has gotten away. But In general, we drive people to at least weekly meetings with their company partner.
Okay.
You need some FaceTime every
Yep.
single week. You will have FaceTime with us or a mentor from that coach persona every single week.
Okay.
You will also be meeting with your team members and you're going to be distilling that down. You're going to be going out and doing effective customer discovery throughout.
Mm.
So, there are all these learnings that you are out collecting data points and you're rolling them up to say, what's the trend? What have I
Yeah.
learned? What does this mean? And then you're going to go check that with some established resource, whether
Okay.
that's company partner or whatnot. So, yeah, in general, you should have weekly, multiple times in a week, you should have touch points that help facilitate communication.
I think it's incredibly important, especially as you're discovering what your leadership style is as well. Like,
Yeah.
do you like that micro or do you like being more hands off? What are the things that you really appreciate when you're working with people as well?
Yeah.
I get questions a lot, especially when I'm applying, and I'm like, they're like, "What's your leadership style? What do you like?" And I'm like, I am not a micro. I'm like, I want to be able to provide creative spaces for everybody. But it is incredibly fascinating as you continue to progress through your career
Yeah.
to find the little, just teensy bitsy things that feedback is so incredibly important. And I love detailed feedback because I'm like, I can't fix something
Yeah.
if you don't give me a full picture
Yeah, totally.
of
Or
what
if
is
I don't know what's
happening.
happening at
Yeah.
all, or we've like reached crisis point before there's
Yes.
any like bump up of what's going on. You know, I have been lucky to work with some really amazing leaders over the
Yeah.
course of my career in different industries and different places. And, one person really stands out in my mind. Her name's Christina. I had a chance to work for her twice in California.
Okay.
And I just think she's literally the best.
Yeah.
So good. Great with humans, communication, and complex problems, which is unique that all of those things live in
Yes.
the same person. And I think very much the style there is choose the right people, spend the time, dig
Okay.
in on the front end, be really, really, closely guard these key
Yeah.
positions and choose the right people. Make sure they have the
Yep.
right resources to get their job done and get out of the way.
Yep.
So then you're that amazing resource where you're never micromanaging people. You have regular systems for communication to flow. And, there's very much there has to be some independent verification that things are going well. And there are a lot of ways to learn about those KPIs in business. But in general, are you coming from a place of support with consistent
Yeah.
and steady communication so that, you're seeing things when there's like a little spike of a problem versus
Yeah.
waiting until it's totally out of control and there's
Yes.
very little you can do to help that person or the
Yeah.
organization. So yeah, I think being able to you choose your supervisor as much as you choose your job. I say that to people all the time who are investigating new career opportunities, really embracing people that you get that sense that their leadership style is a match for what you want and believe in them and position them in a way to help you as a mentor, as a friend, as a colleague, and all these different hats. And that can be such a driver in your own career growth.
Yep. I do want to just put you on the hot seat and just
Yeah.
see if there are some startups that you've got eyes on right now
Yeah.
that you want to give a
Always.
shout out to that is really kind of top of mind that are doing some cool stuff, or if there's just some industries that you're really seeing some really cool things happen right now.
Yeah. Well, we had my friend John Hill in from WAP last week. They're a
Okay.
Brooklyn-based startup. They have just closed a Series A. I think they're building really interesting technology that just removes all the gating for essentially the creator economy for people who are
Oh,
creating content all the time.
good.
They have given such a powerful marketplace to that I'm
Okay.
really excited to see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about a lot of the companies coming out of NC State right now.
Yeah.
I think, the College of Engineering is really well known for technical talent, right? Second to none. CN Seamless is a company that completed our accelerator this summer. They've been
Okay.
amazing and they're on a growth trajectory. I loved Alpaca Sews. I loved every single company we got to work with this summer.
Yeah.
So I could literally go down the roster. But I would just say, things like, stuffed animal brands I did not think would sit
Yeah.
in the same accelerator as somebody who is developing drone technology
Yeah.
to democratize access.
Yeah.
And I think that's really exciting. So yeah, a lot of really interesting concepts that I love. And I would also shout out my friend Gabe Gonzalez,
Okay.
who's one of the co-founders of Casaloo. So
Okay.
that's a rum-based seltzer brand that
Ooh.
they originally launched in Miami. They're now expanding in North Carolina, also an NC State founded company. And just amazing to say, this is a brand that really embraces culture first.
Yeah.
And then, it also happens to be delicious. So, certainly have it at any party. But I love their whole process to grow the brand, understand what people wanted or needed from that. And yes, I do have some in my fridge right now.
I'd be disappointed if you didn't almost.
Yeah, if I'm going to rep them, I have to. But yeah, I mean, just that's another thing that I'll call out NC State for is just this huge diversity
Yeah.
of concepts. And if you look at the student population coming out of there and reflecting the broader community,
Yeah.
it's really exciting to
Yeah.
see all the interesting things popping up every day.
We were just talking about it a little bit, but I do just want to hit on, what are your leadership pillars or values or however you want to call them? What are the principles that you love to stand by?
I mean, certainly like trust but verify is one. I think
Okay.
you can't just be one or the other if you're going to lead an organization or lead a team. Having strong systems for accountability
Yeah.
is real. Also providing communication and support,
Okay.
right? Again, if a problem pops up, problems will pop up, right?
Yeah.
That's inevitable. Is there a strong culture within the
Yeah.
team? Are you all supportive of one another? Are you learning about it early enough that you can help as a coach and not just be, a firefighter trying to extinguish these things? So yeah, trust but verify, choose the right people, get out of their way. And also just really focusing on relationships first
Okay.
because you can train for like job level acumen. People
Yeah.
can learn the skills to do their job.
Yes.
Focusing on the right person fit and team fit is so critical for
Yeah.
organizations.
It go red in the face sometimes when I'm looking around an organization and I'm looking at chief, whatever title you are.
Yeah.
You bring people in, you hire people, let people do
Yeah.
the jobs that you hired them for because
Right.
they were hired for a reason.
Yeah.
Let them do their thing. And hopefully you see the results that you're looking for, but sometimes
Yeah.
it is so important to be able to like get out of the way and
Yep.
let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And
think-
then if there's that feedback loop once again to make changes, of course, but
Sure. Yeah, that's right. Listening and supporting is critical, but
Yes.
like, yes, chief, CXO, like
Yeah.
whatever seat you sit in.
Yeah.
If you want to do that job, fine, but you can't do yours and theirs.
yes.
So choose.
Yeah.
Either one is fine.
Where
but
would
go
you
ahead and
love to
make that
spread your
choice.
time?
Yeah, that's right. That's great phrasing.
Where
Yeah.
where would you like to be able to sleep at night while you're at it too?
Yeah, that's right.
How does the entrepreneurship clinic, how does the model benefit not only the student, but also the partner, the company, the startup that you
Yeah.
guys are working with?
I think the model works really well, especially in the startup world. But I would say all company partners because it's a really flexible model that allows people to receive help in different ways than a traditional internship program. So yeah, if you're a startup, you probably don't have defined resources and
Yeah.
you certainly don't have the bandwidth and you don't have the X number of things that
Yep.
you need to run a robust internship program. I hate that word. I can't believe I just used it. Yuck. But how do you build something that not only helps your company, but helps
Yes.
this person as well? So I do think, yeah, having the added, we are managing, we are coaches on the sideline.
Yeah.
We are applying a team with, interdisciplinary skill sets to get in there, like peel back
Yeah.
the curtains and create real value for you. I think that's totally different than spending the time to develop an internship program on this certain cycle. And I think it's great. I'm a both and. You should pursue both types of experiences. But I would suggest that's probably how it's different. Also, if you're a big company, if you're Lenovo, IBM, people like that, you have all these same things, right? You're going to swap them out every semester. You're going to get a brand new crew of people to do this specific thing. Being able to employ people with different backgrounds and skills to wear all the hats is really valuable. We have people who come back to us every semester wanting to work with a team. So I think, just the retention of the relationship, I know that they have different needs 6 months later. They should, right? They should not need the same things or we're not doing our job. So yeah, I think creating a ton of value that is entirely flexible and students are driving strategy. So it can sometimes create so much more work when you bring in an intern into the company because now you're like sitting around trying to think of what they should be doing next. I'm not speaking from personal experience here at all.
No, never.
So yeah, being able to lean on us as a resource to say like, we're going to help them scope out. We're going to get them to a project package that makes sense based on what you told us.
Yeah.
And then you're there to provide resources and insight and like coach them each week in what you know about the organization or industry. And you can be as hands-off as you want to be at that point.
Yep. My last question for you
Sure.
is what continues to just drive your passion for what you're doing day in and day out with all these different companies, with all these students, all of it?
Well, I think I am incredibly lucky. I think and I would say this to our chancellor, and I do think I've said this to him on occasion, but I think I have the best job on campus. Genuinely, I believe that it is fun, it is interesting, and no 2 days are the same.
Yeah.
So I do think just like a dynamic working environment's exciting. What really drives me though is career growth for students
Okay.
coming out of NC State, and not just the people graduating this year, but the people who graduated 5 years ago and are changing careers or negotiating, a major promotion,
Yeah.
or it's a long-term relationship. So I super care about people accomplishing what they want to out of
Yeah.
their career, and in any small way that I can help them, amazing. And for the startups, yeah, can we really help you launch something that accomplishes all your goals, big or small?
Yeah.
There are different goals of scale for every different concept. If I have an artist that focuses on murals, that's probably
Yeah.
different than a widget that's going to functionally change how people
Yes.
work in an industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, how can I help them accomplish their goals, and
Yeah.
how can I help them think about things in a way that will be really
Yeah.
meaningful long term?
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Haley Huie, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for sitting here with me today and just let me dive into everything you're doing and your passion for it all. I just so appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for having me. Always happy to
Yes.
chat about any of this stuff, but this has
Yeah.
been a lot of fun. So
This is
thanks
my
so much.
favorite stuff to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
this is for me, this is my book for the day. I'm like,
That's
this
right.
is good. This
Totally.
is what I love to learn about. But you guys, I'm going to have Haley's socials down below as well as the NC State Entrepreneurship Clinic. So you guys can go check it all out, learn more about what they're doing. But just thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here with me today.
Of course. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yes. And as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.